Hey there, and welcome back to the deep dive. There are these moments in leadership, right? In business, maybe even just in life generally, when everything feels like, wow, like smooth sailing. You're thinking about growth, you're nurturing talent, building something solid, something enduring, expanding.
Yeah, plotting the course,
Yeah.
calm waters.
Exactly. Innovations humming along, steady progress. But then, sometimes almost out of nowhere, the wind just shifts.
Uh-huh. The storm clouds gather.
Yeah, and suddenly you find yourself not just navigating, but battling, like really battling, fighting for survival against some kind of existential threat.
It's a complete flip.
It's like the difference between, I don't know, charting a course on a calm sea and suddenly you're in a hurricane just bracing for impact. Total shift. So today we're going to tackle one of the most, I think, profound and really practical distinctions in leadership. It's a concept that helps you figure out, what hat you're wearing.
Or maybe what armor you need to put on.
Right. Exactly. It's drawn from Ben Horowitz's book, The Hard Thing About Hard Things, which is just essential reading, honestly. The idea of the peacetime CEO versus the wartime CEO. And it's a framework that really forces us to confront this stark reality. The skills, the mindset you need for one situation, they can be completely wrong, even harmful, in the other. So our mission in this deep dive is pretty clear. We want to unpack this framework for you. We'll clarify, what really defines each type of CEO.
And down those differences.
Yeah, highlight the vastly different skills and strategies they have to use. And, crucially, explore why a leader who's brilliant in peacetime might just completely fail when the cannons start firing.
And vice versa, right?
Yeah.
A great wartime leader might struggle when things calm down.
Absolutely. So ultimately, we want to equip you with a lens, a way to diagnose your own situation, whether it's your company, your team, maybe even a personal project, and then adapt your leadership. Because as you'll see, just knowing which game you're actually playing, that's the first most critical step to, well, winning it, whatever winning looks like in that context.
And what's truly fascinating here, I think, is that while Horowitz really crystallized this idea, the principles themselves, they echo across so many different sources. It's not just him.
Oh, interesting. Like what?
Well, we're talking things from centuries ago, like Machiavelli's The Prince,
Yeah.
timeless stuff on power, but also cutting-edge modern business cases. Think about Apple's turnaround under Steve Jobs. That was practically a miracle.
Felt like it 90 days from insolvency, wasn't it?
Yeah, or Elon Musk's fights for survival at SpaceX and Tesla in the early days. Those were brutal.
Real nail biters.
Exactly. And we'll also pull in insights from, foundational texts on team dynamics, personal effectiveness, strategy. So we'll connect these dots for you, show how this fundamental truth about leadership, that context absolutely dictates the approach, plays out everywhere. It's not just theory.
It's a pattern.
It's a recurring, undeniable pattern in how things get done, how organizations survive. Or don't.
Okay, let's dig into this definition first, starting with the peacetime CEO. So, as Horowitz lays it out, this leader is mostly focused on, well, strategic growth, expanding the market, fostering creativity inside the company, building a strong, enduring culture.
Right, it's not about putting out immediate fires.
Exactly. Think of it as a time when you have a competitive advantage, and the main goal isn't just stopping the bleeding, but building a really solid foundation for the future. It's about leading, innovating, not just reacting. You're building the empire, not just defending the castle walls.
Precisely. And if we connect this to, say, Hamilton Helmer's work in Seven Powers, which is incredibly insightful, by the way, a peacetime CEO is aiming for what he calls durable differential returns.
Durable differential returns. Okay, unpack that a bit.
It means it's not just about next quarter's results. It's about strategically building these long-term advantages, what Helmer calls powers, that are just really hard for competitors to copy. Think about Intel back in the day with microprocessors. Their constant investment in manufacturing tech, their unique designs, they created huge cost advantages and made it really painful for customers to switch. That's durable.
So they built an unassailable perch, as Helmer puts it.
Exactly that phrase,
Yeah.
an unassailable perch. It takes foresight, patience, really understanding the market to build that kind of lasting value that others can't just chip away at easily.
But even Intel couldn't do that with memory chips, right? So it's not automatic.
No, absolutely not. It shows that even in peacetime, success requires very specific defensible advantages. You have to actively build those powers.
Okay, so how do you build that perch? This is where it gets really practical, I think. A peacetime leader might use concepts like a blue ocean strategy.
Ah, yes, Kim and Mauborgne. Great stuff.
Yeah, and their whole idea isn't just tweaking products, right? It's about creating entirely new market spaces, these blue oceans.
Right, where competition is almost irrelevant because you've invented the space or totally redefined an existing one.
And they talk about value innovation, which is key. It's like pursuing being different and lower cost at the same time.
Exactly. You're not just fighting on existing battlegrounds, you're creating new demand by breaking the value cost trade-off. It's not just tech innovation for tech's sake.
It's about making the competition irrelevant.
Precisely. And a key tool they offer is the strategy canvas. It's basically a graph, a visual way to map out what your company offers versus competitors across all the things customers care about.
Okay, so you visualize the current state.
Yeah, and then the peacetime CEO uses that with their 4 actions framework. This is how you find that value innovation. You ask, what factors can we eliminate that the industry takes for granted, but buyers don't really value anymore?
Get rid of stuff.
Okay. What can we reduce way below the industry standard, things that are overkill?
Trim the fat.
What should we raise way above the standard, things buyers genuinely crave?
Double down on value.
And maybe most powerfully, what can we create that the industry has never offered before?
The true blue ocean move.
Right. The Cirque du Soleil, they eliminated animal acts, star performers cut costs, but they created this amazing, sophisticated theatrical experience, raised and created value. Totally new audience.
They avoided the red oceans, the bloody fights over existing customers.
Exactly. They just sidestepped the whole thing. That's classic peacetime strategic thinking.
And you see this with tech too, right? Like Salesforce or the iPhone. It wasn't just the tech itself.
No, not at all. They made the technology almost disappear, as Kim and Malborn might say. They made it simple, intuitive, easy to use, productive.
The value innovation was the user experience.
Absolutely. Creating a new market for cloud software that anyone could use, or the phone as this central life device. They were just competing on megahertz or feature lists in the old way.
Okay, but here's a wrinkle. Even in peacetime, especially now in tech, the pressure for growth can feel pretty intense, right? Almost warlike sometimes.
It's a really important point. Hoffman and talk about this in blitzscaling.
Right.
They point out that, 20% annual growth. Wall Street might love that elsewhere, but for a startup, trying to become massive
Not enough.
simply isn't enough to grab that market fast enough. So peacetime in modern tech often means this incredibly demanding, rapid expansion, sometimes inefficient even.
So it's still a battle, but maybe a different kind.
Exactly. The nature of the threat isn't usually existential day-to-day survival like will we make payroll next week. It's more about opportunity maximization. It's a fierce race to scale, grab market share before anyone else does. It's a war for future dominance, maybe not immediate survival. Still intense, but different stakes.
And there's another layer to peacetime leadership, right? Thinking beyond just the numbers, like from Collins and Porras, built to last.
Oh yeah, the focus on purpose.
Right, building purpose beyond just maximizing shareholder wealth. Asking those deep questions like, what would actually be lost if our company just vanished?
It's about finding that core ideology, that reason for being that goes beyond products or markets.
They have that thought experiment, the random corporate serial killer game.
Yeah. Grim name, powerful idea.
Imagine you sell the company for a fortune, everyone's set for life, but the company itself is just deleted, wiped out.
What's lost then?
Yeah.
It forces you to confront the real contribution, the core values, the deeper purpose.
And that kind of thinking, that long-term foundational focus, that's pure peacetime leadership. Building something with soul meant to last generations. Okay, now let's make that pivot. And it can be a jarring one to the wartime CEO, this leader, defined by an almost singular obsession. Survival, defeating a mortal existential threat, full stop.
Yeah, it's a battle, plain and simple. The stakes are the company's very existence.
Right. Forget expanding markets, forget nurturing creativity for a bit. This is about making it through the night, making it to tomorrow. Everything else, secondary.
Horowitz himself gives this incredibly raw example
Right.
from his own experience, right? During the dot-com crash, trying to get his company's IPO done,
Yeah, that sounded terrifying.
the market was just collapsing around him.
Yeah.
Companies like his losing half their value in days, Yahoo's CEO stepping down. He said he just stumbled through the rest of the roadshow, completely discombobulated, utterly overwhelmed.
Totally understandable.
And then his wife, Felicia, just cut right through it all. Told him basically, no, get it done. There is no tomorrow for you and the company if you don't. I'll be fine.
Wow, that's stark.
It's the absolute essence of wartime leadership, isn't it? That unwavering, almost ruthless focus on organizational survival, often demanding huge personal sacrifice, brutal clarity, because the alternative is just Nothing. Collapse.
No time for hand-wringing. Just find a way. Anyway.
Find a way. Ensure the company lives. That's the mandate.
So what does that mean for the leader's actions? It means making really tough, often deeply unpopular decisions, sometimes things that feel ruthless.
Yeah, and this isn't new. Machiavelli, writing The Prince centuries ago, got this brutal reality.
What did he say?
He observed that leaders, or princes back then, acquire hatred just as much for good deeds as bad ones. And he said basically, a leader who wants to keep their state or their company is often forced to do things that seem evil, or at least unpleasant.
Pragmatism over popularity.
Completely.
Yeah.
It's about effectiveness in preserving the entity. He also warned against internal divisions in wartime. Fostering factions might work in peace, keep people off balance, but if war comes,
Lethal.
absolutely lethal. A wartime leader needs unity, loyalty, swift execution. They actively crush dissent and demand focus. No room for internal politics when the barbarians are at the gates.
And you see the same instinct in modern tech stories too, right? Those survival battles.
Oh, absolutely. Think about Musk's early days, which Ashley Vance captures so well. Tesla, SpaceX. These weren't just smooth innovation curves.
No, they were cliffhangers.
Remember the story of the Tesla Roadster batteries? A whole cluster just went up like a cluster of bottle rockets in a test. Imagine 7,000 batteries potentially exploding.
Terrifying. Existential.
Exactly.
Mm.
That demanded an immediate engineering-driven fix for survival, not a 5-year plan. Now, or SpaceX, when the Falcon 1 rocket body crumpled on the transport plane. A stupid logistical error, but could have killed the company. Musk's response:
Immediate action.
get the team to launch site now. Send in the repair crew now. Unwavering focus on the mission, overcoming disaster with direct, surgical intervention. No hesitation. Failure wasn't an option.
And Steve Jobs returning to Apple. That's the textbook example, isn't it?
Classic wartime turnaround. Apple was, 90 days from being insolvent, losing over $1 billion?
As dire.
So no time for nurturing, time for triage. Radical surgery. He laid off over 3,000 people. Painful, but necessary.
And simplified everything.
Ruthlessly. Killed product lines left and right. Famously asked, which products do I tell my friends to buy? If it wasn't core, it was gone.
And then that famous line.
Oh, and one more thing. Think profit. That wasn't about greed. That was about survival. Stop the bleeding. Make the company viable again. That wartime footing laid the groundwork for everything that came later.
Right, shutting down things like the Newton freed up resources for the iMac, the iPod.
Exactly. Brutal focus clears the path. And even in the military, a truly complex wartime situation demands radical change. Look at General McChrystal's task force fighting al-Qaeda in Iraq.
Yeah, team of teams, great book.
They were facing this agile, networked enemy that was outmaneuvering a superior conventional force. Their old ways, their pathetic intelligence abilities, as he put it, just weren't working.
So they had to adapt radically.
They completely re-engineered how they operated. Operators talking directly to analysts, everyone knee-deep in the fight all of the time, breaking down silos, sharing information instantly.
Shared consciousness, rapid action.
Focused entirely on defeating that mortal threat. That's wartime adaptation at its most intense.
And the financial world has these moments too. Maybe not bullets, but definitely battles. Rockefeller and Standard Oil.
Oh, absolutely. For his competitors, it felt like war. He used his scale, his power with the railroads, to basically equalize rates, which really meant getting preferential treatment that crushed his rivals in places like Oil Creek.
Destroyed their advantages.
Led to howls of protest, but ultimately it led to consolidation. His goal was an impregnable position, total dominance, achieved through decisive, often brutal strategic moves. Wartime economics, you could say. And think about Enron's collapse as detailed in The Smartest Guys in the Room. When the crisis hit, the bankers,
I smell blood.
they only lent money on their terms. Enron became beggars long before they knew they were beggars. It shows how fast external players recognize vulnerability in wartime and leverage it ruthlessly.
Just underscores the need for swift, self-preserving action from the leader.
Absolutely, the walls close in fast.
Okay, so we have these two really distinct environments, almost polar opposites. Peacetime growth, wartime survival. So what skills does each demand? For peacetime, it seems like it's a lot about building relationships, empowering your teams, fostering that culture of, continuous improvement, innovation.
Yeah, creating an environment where people feel safe to try things, maybe even fail sometimes, without catastrophic consequences.
Right, it's about nurturing potential.
Exactly. Kim Scott's radical candor really nails this. It's about understanding what genuinely motivates each person on your team. building real trust through candid conversations.
Caring personally while challenging directly.
That's the mantra. And it involves giving direct feedback constantly, not just once a year. Like HBR's Managing Yourself collection also highlights. And crucially, taking responsibility for making sure your feedback actually lands, making sense to the other person.
Not just throwing criticism over the wall.
Right. That creates psychological safety, which is the bedrock for nurturing talent, encouraging people to experiment, push boundaries. Mistakes become learning moments, not firing offenses.
And that fits with the new 1-minute manager too, doesn't it? That whole approach seems very peacetime.
Oh, completely. Blanchard and Johnson's idea of managers actively looking for good work, catching people doing something right, giving those 1-minute praisings, specific, encouraging.
Just celebrating the small wins.
Yeah. And when things go wrong, using 1-minute redirects, correcting the behavior quickly, constructively, refocusing on the goal, but without crushing the person's spirit.
It builds trust, encourages consistency.
In an environment where, again, mistakes are seen as learning opportunities, not existential threats, it's a gentle but firm approach suited for steady development over time. And Kim and Mauborn, the Blue Ocean folks, they actually apply their thinking to leadership itself in Blue Ocean leadership.
Oh, interesting. How so?
They emphasize creating that safe environment for learning, explaining the why behind the strategy clearly, and really empowering people on the front lines. They even adapt their Canvas tool for leadership, helping leaders identify which of their own activities they should eliminate, reduce, raise, or create.
So leaders analyze their own impact on engagement.
Exactly. To turn disengaged employees into engaged ones. It's all about developing human capital, optimizing the whole system, so innovation bubbles up naturally, not just dictated from the top, cultivating the garden, so to speak.
And even within that growth phase, peacetime leaders need flexibility, right? Not just sticking to the plan no matter what, like that Honda Super Cub story.
Ah, Christensen's example.
Yeah?
Fantastic illustration of emergent strategy.
Yeah, Honda's deliberate strategy was big bikes for the U.S., but they had bikes were unreliable, too big for U.S. roads then.
Total mismatch initially.
But the engineers had these little Super Cub bikes for running errands, durable, cheap, and they started selling them almost by accident through, like, hardware stores.
Equipment dealers, yeah.
And that became the winning strategy, the emergent one. A peacetime leader needs to be able to see those accidental successes and pivot, right?
Absolutely. Have the peripheral vision, the flexibility to recognize and seize opportunities that weren't in the original PowerPoint deck. Adapt to what the market is actually telling you. And ultimately, all of this peacetime leadership requires a really fine balance. Stephen Covey talks about this in 7 Habits.
Which habit relates here?
He defines maturity as the balance between courage and consideration.
Courage and consideration.
If you're high on consideration but low on courage, your blues win. You can't stand up for your convictions because you're too worried about pleasing everyone. No direction.
People-pleasing paralysis.
Right. But if you're high on courage, low on consideration, that's win-lose. You drive your agenda forward regardless of the human cost. Alienates everyone.
Steamroller.
Exactly. Peacetime success absolutely demands that balance. You need to be empathetic and assertive to build trust, foster collaboration, and keep innovation thriving long-term. It's honoring both the people and the purpose.
Okay, now flip the coin again. The wartime CEO. Completely different playbook needed here. Decisiveness becomes critical. Direct control often takes over. And just this almost singular, unwavering focus on the immediate threat, that's paramount.
Absolutely. There's simply no bandwidth for consensus building like in peacetime. No time to explore every emergent whim. No luxury for long-term individual nurturing plans right now. It's about making hard calls fast, ensuring execution without question, rallying everyone to that one single life or death objective.
And Peter Drucker, the management legend, had insights here too, right? About focus.
Oh, definitely. And what makes an effective executive, he stresses setting posteriorities.
Posteriorities, not priority.
Posteriorities. Actively deciding what tasks not to do. This is absolutely vital in a crisis, in wartime. Resources, time, money, attention are finite. They must be conserved for the absolute must-wins.
So it's ruthless deprioritization.
Exactly. You have to abandon things that might seem important in peacetime, but would just drain energy now without contributing directly to survival. Think Jack Welch at GE.
What did he do?
He'd constantly ask, what needs doing now? And focus only on the 2 or 3 things he was best suited for. Delegate or just kill the rest. In wartime, that laser focus isn't optional. You might halt all long-term R&D, pause engagement surveys, Anything not aimed at the immediate fire.
And the decisions themselves, they have to be razor sharp.
Drucker was adamant about this. A decision isn't truly made until people know a few key things. Who is accountable for carrying it out? What's the deadline? And who else is affected and needs to know?
No ambiguity allowed.
Zero room for it. No fuzzy directives, no decision by committee paralysis when survival's on the line. Accountability has to be absolute. Marching orders need to be crystal clear.
Because hesitation or confusion could be fatal.
Instantly fatal. A peacetime leader might take weeks refining a strategy. A wartime leader makes the best call possible with incomplete data and executes now. And this brings up communication. How crucial is clear communication in a crisis?
Absolutely critical, I'd imagine.
John Brooks, in Business Adventures, gives this chilling example from GE during that price-fixing scandal. Communication just got hopelessly muddied.
How so?
Direct orders were misunderstood. Reports from subordinates were dismissed as just gossiping idly when they were actually serious warnings.
Wow. That kind of breakdown in wartime.
Catastrophic. There's no time for political spin, reading between the lines, implicit understandings. You need clear, direct, unambiguous messages. Vital for rapid execution. Cut through the noise. Deliver the hard truths.
Which connects to Ray Dalio's idea of radical truth and transparency.
Perfectly. In Principles, he talks about needing to be radically truthful and radically transparent when facing problems that force hard choices.
Even if it's painful.
Especially if it's painful. That directness aligns perfectly with the wartime need for unvarnished reality. No sugarcoating. Face the brutal facts head on so you can find a way through. You don't protect people from the truth, you arm them with it. And the whole idea of risk just gets completely redefined too, doesn't it?
How do you mean?
Well, Burton Malkiel, in A Random Walk Down Wall Street, defines normal investment risk as, the chance your expected returns don't happen, your stocks fall.
Yeah.
Financial risk.
Right. Standard definition.
But in a true company wartime scenario, the risk isn't just about returns. It's about the existence of the company. Annihilation. So risks that seemed acceptable in peacetime, like launching a new speculative product line, suddenly become unbearable gambles. You hoard cash, protect the core. Unless taking a massive, seemingly irrational gamble is the only possible path to survival, then a wartime leader might do something that looks utterly reckless in peacetime because the alternative is guaranteed death. The risk calculus totally flips.
And sometimes pushing for survival, leaders might tread into ethically gray areas, right? Like the Robert Moses example.
Yeah, that's a stark one from Robert Caro's The Power Broker.
Yeah.
Moses' critics described him as a liar the way Hitler was a liar, as a matter of policy.
Okay, that's obviously an extreme and deeply troubling comparison, but what's the takeaway for leadership styles?
Right, and we report that neutrally, just relaying the source's description. It illustrates an extreme wartime mentality, where the end, achieving the grand vision, maintaining control, executing the plan, justifies almost any means. The priority shifts entirely from, say, public service ideals to raw power and execution, whatever the cost. It's a cautionary tale about how the pressures of perceived war can warp priorities and ethics when a leader becomes solely focused on winning at all costs.
Okay, so this is where it gets really tricky, right? The transition. Because a great peacetime leader can be a disaster in wartime.
And vice versa. A brilliant crisis manager might flounder when things need nurturing and long-term building.
That switch from peace to war or back again, that's where companies and leaders often just stumble, sometimes fatally.
It's incredibly hard. It's not just changing tactics. It's changing your whole mindset, your psychology, your default leadership instincts.
Deeply ingrained habits.
Exactly. Daniel Goleman talks about this in What Makes a Leader. Different situations demand different leadership styles. You need a sensitive negotiator for M&A.
Build bridges, find common ground.
But for a turnaround, you need a more forceful authority, someone who can make those tough calls and drive change.
Two different skill sets.
And Goleman found the higher the rank, the more emotional intelligence, self-awareness, adaptability, empathy predicts effectiveness. Because EI is what allows you to recognize when your usual style isn't working and shift gears.
So it's about knowing yourself and reading the situation accurately.
And having the flexibility to adapt, even if it feels unnatural or goes against what made you successful before. A lot of leaders fall into that hammer nail trap. If you're a great peacetime hammer, you keep hammering even when the situation demands a screwdriver.
And those ingrained habits, especially around teamwork, can be dangerous in a crisis.
Hugely dangerous. Katzenbach and Smith warn about this in The Discipline of Teams. Groups often assume they need to act like a collaborative team, even when the situation demands clear, strong, top-down direction from the leader.
So applying peacetime consensus models in a wartime crisis?
Can be fatal. Imagine soldiers in an ambush trying to vote on their next move. It's denying the reality of the threat. That refusal to see it's war, not peace, prevents effective action. Collective brainstorming gets replaced by the need for immediate command and execution. And there's this related concept from strategic flexibility, the idea of eroding goals. It's when performance slips, and instead of radically changing strategy to meet the original goal, the organization just quietly lowers the goalposts.
Managing expectations downwards instead of fixing the problem.
Exactly. It signals a failure to adapt, maybe even a denial of the new wartime reality. The U.S. railroads after WWII are a classic example.
What happened there?
They got incredibly efficient at running railroads, refining routines, low-level learning, even as trucking and air travel were eating their lunch. Their market share plummeted, but they just kept optimizing the old model.
Fighting the last war.
Perfectly put. Their strategies became trajectories of decline because they failed to recognize the battlefield had fundamentally changed. They were stuck in peacetime refinement when a new logistics war was raging.
And Drucker had a warning about timing here too, didn't he?
Oh, a classic Druckerism. To do 5 years later what it would have been smart to do 5 years earlier is almost a sure recipe for frustration and failure.
Ouch. Procrastination is deadly.
Especially when shifting to a wartime footing. Clinging to peacetime strategies when the environment has changed, when the enemy is attacking. Delaying that shift, even by a bit, can be fatal. The window for decisive action in wartime is often incredibly brief.
And even someone like Jeff Bezos faced this kind of transition moment, right? Even during growth.
Yeah, it's a fascinating example from the everything store. Amazon was in hypergrowth, looks like peacetime, right? But the spending was massive, losses widening. It created intense internal pressure.
A kind of wartime pressure caused by growth.
Exactly. The board felt Bezos needed additional help, more operational discipline. They actually asked him to find a COO.
And did he?
Initially resistant, apparently. Strong convictions, visionary leader. But eventually, he recognized the need for a different skill set to manage that explosive scaling phase and brought in an experienced manager, Joe Galli Jr.
So even Bezos had to adapt his leadership approach, or at least structure.
It shows that even peacetime success, if it's rapid enough, can create its own kind of crisis, demanding adaptation and sometimes different leadership capabilities to solidify the gains and prepare for the next stage. #tag outro.
So wrapping this up, whether you're building an empire in calm seas, navigating a sudden squall, or maybe blitzscaling through that hyper-growth phase, understanding this distinction between the peacetime CEO and the wartime CEO, this powerful idea from Ben Horowitz, it feels pretty fundamental, doesn't it?
Absolutely fundamental. It's not just semantics. It's about recognizing reality.
It's like having the right map for the territory you're actually in.
Right, it boils down to this. The environment dictates the leadership style required. And sticking with the wrong style, that can be fatal. Peacetime. It's about expansion, creativity, psychological safety, long-term vision, nurturing culture, building those durable advantages, embracing emergent possibilities.
Building for the long haul.
Wartime. Stark contrast, survival, ruthless efficiency, decisive action, rallying the troops against that immediate existential threat, making unpopular choices, direct command.
Making it to sunrise.
Exactly.
Yep.
And the most effective leaders, as Goldman points out, they have the emotional intelligence, the adaptability to shift between these modes. They aren't defined by one style.
They're defined by their ability to choose the right style for the moment.
Precisely. Knowing what the situation demands.
And this isn't just some abstract theory for Fortune 500 CEOs, right? It feels like a really practical tool for anyone leading anything. A tool for self-diagnosis.
Totally. It helps you articulate, okay, what are the real demands of my situation right now? Where might my natural leadership style be a mismatch? It helps you understand why some leaders you admire might suddenly falter in a new role or a crisis. They couldn't make the transition. They were stuck in peacetime mode when war broke out, or vice versa.
So it prompts that crucial question. What does my environment actually require of me right now? What skills do I need to lean into or maybe develop? So as you, our listeners, reflect on your own challenges, professional, maybe even personal, here's a final thought to chew on. In this world we live in now, right? Rapid change, constant disruption, unexpected crises popping up. Is true peacetime leadership becoming kind of a rare luxury?
Interesting question.
Or maybe. Is the ability to strategically create those periods of stability, to build that sustainable growth, that unassailable perch, even amidst the chaos? Is that the ultimate wartime victory in disguise?
Establishing peace through strength, perhaps.
Maybe. So the question for you is, what kind of leader do you need to be right now? And how are you going to actively cultivate those specific skills? Not just to survive, but to really meet the moment, whatever it looks like. Something powerful to mull over until our next deep dive.